So we've covered mice, keyboards, and headphones/headsets. The final piece of the puzzle is going to be your microphone. Now, I would say that microphones probably have, out of the rest of these items that we've gone over the last couple of weeks, microphones are going to have the fewest options, but there are the options that vary quite a bit between them. So let's go over some great tips on how to choose the perfect microphone for you. So first things first, choosing between USB and XLR microphones. Now I'm currently using the Rode PodMic. It is an XLR microphone. It goes into my Yamaha MG10XU mixer. And with any XLR microphone, you're going to have some kind of interface for it to be plugged into. Typically, that's either going to be an audio interface or a mixer. Now, USB microphones, however, are easily able to just plug directly into your computer and they're ready, set to go. And that's probably one of their biggest benefits, is that you just take it out of the box, you plug it into your computer, and you're ready to set. Now, some of the pros of having an XLR microphone is, one, you get a lot more flexibility. I can buy one audio interface or one mixer, and I can play around with as many microphones as I want. I can switch this one out, I can sell this microphone and get another one, and I can plug it all into the exact same interface. And in the past, XLR microphones have given you the most amount of control over the actual sound of your microphone. In recent years, however, USB microphones have done some great leaps in terms of having that audio control, and we'll go over that in a second. Like I mentioned, one of the biggest benefits of a USB microphone is how quick it is to set up. You pull it out of the box, you plug it in. Another great aspect about USB microphones is that they can be controlled through software. So you can get a lot of good granular control. And this is what I was talking about, where things have really improved in recent years and companies have provided much more complex and feature-rich software options for their microphones on the computer. Companies like Beacon and Elgato and even Blue have really stepped up their software games and made it so that you can get some incredible control over the way that your microphone sounds. Personally, this is really going to be down to your personal choice. I really like having XLR microphones. It allows me to be a little bit more flexible. My mixer supports up to 4 different microphones, so that if I ever have a friend, if I ever find one, and they're sitting beside me while we're streaming or recording a video, I can plug that one in. It goes through the same interface. I can control it all through there. It's really nice. But like I said, microphones like the Elgato Wave, the Beacon mics, and the Blue Yetis are just such great options out there. They're very easy to set up, and they can do some really great things for you. Now, one of the other major differences between USB and XLR mics, especially in the past, is going to be the fact that most USB microphones are going to be a condenser microphone, and to get a good dynamic microphone, you typically had to go towards an XLR mic. Now, this is slowly starting to change, but choosing between a condenser and a dynamic mic can be pretty important. So dynamic microphones are better for loud, strong sounds like loud vocals or live instruments like brass instruments or a drum kit, excluding the bass drum. Their pros are that they're typically cheaper, they're typically more durable, and they typically don't require a power source or phantom power. The cons are that they're not as sensitive, so for quieter noises it's not as great, and they do not have a flat frequency response, so they tend to taper off in the higher frequency range. Also, the larger dynamic microphones require a lot more gain from the preamp to get usable levels. A condenser microphone, however, is better for quieter and more complex sounds like quieter vocals or live instruments like acoustic guitars or bass drums. A typical condenser will also pick up more of the room due to its wider frequency response and overall input sensitivity versus a dynamic microphone, which typically needs a lot more air pushing on it or a lot more gain. This is one of the reasons why condensers will usually be used to pick up a room of audio. If you have a lot of people speaking into a singular microphone, it's usually going to get done with a condenser microphone. It's a lot easier, and they're also used to pick up a lot of ambient sound. The pros of a condenser microphone is that it's a lot more sensitive and it's a lot more accurate. The cons are that they're typically more expensive, they're typically a lot more delicate, and they're not great for loud sounds, like when you're yelling into your microphone for missing a shot in Rocket League. So polar patterns are also pretty important when choosing a microphone, but most microphones that are meant to be spoken into and things that you would probably use for streaming or for creating YouTube content are going to be cardioid or supercardioid. So there are 5 main polar patterns. As we mentioned, there's cardioid, which is where the sound pattern is picked up mostly in front of the mic, and on the side it kind of starts to drop off. On the super cardioid, it's even a tighter cardioid pattern, but there is a bit of a trade-off where there's a little rear lobe at the back that also picks up some sound. So now there's the omnidirectional pattern, and omni microphones are able to pick up frequencies equally around the entire microphone. Now there's also the bidirectional polar pattern, also known as a figure 8 polar pattern, and that will pick up sounds uniformly from the front and the rear of the microphone with significant drop off on the sides. And finally, there's the low bar polar pattern, which is typically used in shotgun microphones. This is extremely directional, and there's a very, very sharp drop off on the sides. And again, you'll usually see this with shotgun mics. Now, some microphones like the Blue Yeti are able to change their polar patterns with a dial located directly on the microphone itself. Now, something else to keep in mind is that there's also things called inline preamps. You may also have heard of the Cloud Lifter, which is a type of inline preamp. And those are used on a lot of microphones like the SM7B, the SM58, and even the Rode Pod mic. They're used to increase the gain due to lower sensitivity on these microphones, and it allows you to do so without cranking up the preamp on your audio interface. Typically, these are used if your audio interface preamp doesn't have enough power to do so on its own. Inline preamps do this by using phantom power or some other kind of power source in order to compensate for it. And finally, something to think about is the features. So features are going to be kind of wrapped up in all the things we talked about before. So the software that is available with them. A lot of USB microphones have on microphone controls, like being able to tap to mute. You can plug a headphone directly into it to get monitoring, for example. USB microphones by far are going to have the most amount of features with them, because that's one of the benefits of being able to plug directly into it and it being kind of like a smart device. One of the biggest benefits of an XLR microphone is also one of its biggest downsides, and that's having to buy another thing, an audio interface or a mixer. Now, these do give you the flexibility of being able to switch around your microphones as much as you want. They do give you a lot of control over your microphones, but it is an extra expense that you do have to put forward. But the nice thing is, like the XLR microphones, they usually last a very long time. It's very hard to kill them, and I absolutely love my mixer. I don't know what I would do without it. So now for recommendations. If you want to go for a USB microphone, something like the Elgato Wave is a great option. The Blue Yeti X is another great option, and the newer Beacon mics are a very compelling option as well. Them having some great software controls is very nice to have, but if you want something super budget, something like the Razer Siren Mini is an incredible option for its price point. You can do a lot with it. It's so light and small, you can really put it anywhere. You can have it hang off of anything and it'll work for you. Now for XLR microphones, something like the SM58 is going to be a absolute tank of a microphone. It'll last you forever. May not look as pretty, so if you want something a little bit prettier, something like the Audio-Technica AT2020 or the Rode Pod mic like I'm using here are great options. Now, most people who have a larger budget and want to go for an XLR microphone will either go for the Shure SM7B or the Rode NT1A. These microphones are incredible at getting rid of background noise, being very focused on the speaker, having very crisp audio, and just having a very clean audio profile. And as with everything else, I will have a more detailed list of recommendations on my new website. Go ahead and check out the link down in the description below. Let me know what you think. I just set up the website recently, and I'm just basically moving all of the big guides that I had in Discord over to a more easy to read, easy to find place. Also, big shout out and thanks to my friend Mike who helped me out with this video. He helped keep a lot of the information in here accurate and ensure that I wasn't making any mistakes when telling you guys any of this information. He's a great audio resource, and if you guys would like, him and I can do a deeper dive onto microphone audio and, talk about different equipment, compare and show, how, cheaper microphones or less expensive microphones can sound really good when paired with certain equipment, and a whole bunch of other things. And if you're interested in that, leave a comment down in the comment section below and let me know. And that's it. I hope you found this video helpful on, guiding you on which microphones to look at, what kind of features to look at, kind of pushing you towards either USB or XLR. One thing I'd love to know is what microphone you're currently using, if you are currently using one. Is it one that's built onto your headset? Is it an external microphone? Is it XLR? Is it USB? Leave a comment down below. I'm going to read them all. I'll reply to them all. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, as always, feel free to leave those down in the comment section below. If you did find this video helpful though, I'd really appreciate it if you liked, subscribed. I want to thank my patron sponsors, Thought Slime, Step Back, and Rojo, son of Dojo. And I'd like to thank you for watching to the end of this video. If you want to check out any of the other guide videos that I recently did in this little series, go ahead and check the little playlist section right over here. As always, stay safe out there. I'll see you next Friday.